Hello and welcome back to another week in new genre books. My name is Amelia, and from Locus magazine I'm going to tell you all about the new science fiction, fantasy, and horror books being published the week of July 2nd, 2024. July, time for summer love. This means a necromancer falling for the assassination-prone princess she's ordered to protect and occasionally resurrect. An alternate reality where you didn't fumble your crush, and a synthetic woman designed to win a dating game show. First up, fantasy, we have 12 new books to talk about. From Megan Bannen, we have The Undermining of Twyla and Frank, out from Orbit US in trade paperback, ebook, and audio. This is a humorous fantasy romance novel set in the same world as The Undertaking of Heart and Mercy. Twyla and Frank discover the body of one of their fellow marshals near an enormous footprint. Frank finds himself the inadvertent foster dad to a baby dragon, and Twyla and Frank wind up ensnared in a nefarious plot. From Amelinda Bérubé, we have The Ones Who Come Back Hungry, out from Sourcebooks Fire in trade paperback, ebook, and audio. This is a young adult dark fantasy novel. Joe's deceased sister Audrey comes back dead and decaying. Audrey's hungry for blood and jealous of Joe, and Joe's determined to fix her sister. From Donyae Coles, we have debut novel Midnight Rooms, out from Amistad in hardcover, ebook, and audio. This is a Victorian Gothic fantasy novel, an unexpected visitor claiming to be fabulously wealthy, and it's always a little worrying when someone has to tell you they're rich. Anyway, this visitor seeks the hand of Orabella Mumthrope, a mixed-race orphan with no connections. The manor house, which becomes her new home, is full of dangerous secrets. From Freya Finch, we have Rise, out from Melissa de la Cruz Studio in hardcover and ebook. This is a young adult fantasy novel. Bryn is the youngest sister in a family of Valkyries who live in a Renaissance fair in Chicago. When her mother disappears on a mission for Odin, Bryn senses that something has gone wrong. She begins to have visions of Ragnarok. Then a violent zombie appears as the first of a horde of monsters, proving her visions true. From Gregory Frost, we have Rhymer, Hoode, out from Bannen in hardcover and ebook. This is an epic fantasy novel, the second in a trilogy about Thomas the Rhymer, the 12th century Scottish balladeer who fights through time against the aliens that everyone else calls elves. Grieving for his wife and daughter, Thomas becomes a hermit until a dying outlaw arrives on his doorstep with items stolen from his alien enemies. From Marianne Gordon, we have debut novel The Gilded Crown, out from Harper Voyager US in hardcover, trade paperback, ebook, and audio. This is a fantasy romance novel, the first in the Ravens trade series. Helivir has the power to bring back the dead for a price, but things change when she's summoned to resurrect a princess in order to stay with her in case of future assassination attempts, and she starts to fall for the difficult princess. The heart wants what the heart wants. Am I right? Please take a tiny second to like this video for me, it really helps us out. From Kirsty Greenwood, we have The Love of My Afterlife, out from Berkeley in trade paperback, ebook, and audio. This is a fantasy romance novel. Delphi is offered a second chance at life if she can reconnect with her soulmate on Earth in just 10 days. From Clay Harmon, we have Into the Rift, out from Solaris UK in trade paperback and ebook. This is a fantasy novel, the second in the Rift Walker series, set in the harsh world of Mira. Jakar sets out with Ephedora, the only person left with the power to bind him. Across the rift, he hunts the cultists who enslaved him, intent on ending their trade in elemental children, which, and I'm not an economist, but elemental children seem like a really problematic unit of currency for all kinds of reasons. Maybe he can convince these people to use something more sensible, like dragon eggs. From Joanne Harris, we have The Moonlight Market, out from Pegasus Books in hardcover, ebook, and audio. This is an urban fantasy novel about a war between the Butterfly and Moth Kingdoms. Lonely London photographer Tom Argent finds himself falling in love with a beautiful woman, and pursuit of her reveals an alternate world on the rooftops of London, where day and night factions fight in an all-out war. From Lauren Kate, we have What's in a Kiss, out from Putnam in trade paperback, ebook, and audio. This is a fantasy romance do-over novel. Liv encounters her one-time prom date, now a successful TV personality, as her Lyft passenger. They meet up again at Liv's friend's wedding, where he's the best man. Suddenly, Liv's world turns upside down, and she's living the life where they kissed at prom and he's her true love. Except now her best friend and her mom hate her. I mean, he sounds like a good kisser? Maybe it'll all work out. From O.O. Sangoyomi, we have Masquerade, out from Forge in hardcover, ebook, and audio. This is a historical fantasy novel inspired in part by the myth of Persephone and Hades. In a reimagined 15th century West Africa, a young Yoruba woman is abducted by the warrior king who conquered her homeland, choosing her to be his wife. She must navigate political schemes, tensions with rival states, and reforge the loyalties of the court in her favor, or risk losing her life. From KX Song, we have The Night Ends with Fire, out from Ace in hardcover, ebook, and audio. This is a fantasy novel, the first in a duology inspired by the Chinese tale of Mulan and historical novel Romance of the Three Kingdoms. Malin's father, an opium addict, refuses to answer the imperial draft. He plans to sell her for her dowry to support his habit. Realizing her husband-to-be is a violent, ill-tempered man, Malin disguises herself as a boy and enlists in her father's place. Next up, science fiction, we have 6 titles. From Catherine Asaro, we have The Down Deep, out from Bannen in hardcover, ebook, and audio. This is a science fiction novel, first in the Dust Knights series, set in the Scolian Empire. In a city divided between the rich and the poor, a member of the royal class wants to help the Undercity and recruits Major Bajan and her Dust Knights for a mission of goodwill. But the problems of the Undercity run deeper than anyone knows. From Fred Lerner, we have In Memoriam, out from Fantastic Books and trade paperback and hardcover. This is a science fiction novel. The remnant of Terra, survivors of the cataclysm that destroyed life on Earth, have lived with the alien Wyneri who rescued them for 2 centuries. One young man decides to dig into the mysteries of the cataclysm, with dangerous results. From Benjamin Lyer, we have debut novel The Failures, out from Daw in hardcover, ebook, and audio. This is an apocalyptic science fantasy novel, the first in the Wanderlands trilogy. A group of heroes, each summoned by a strange dream, travel across their broken mechanical planet to meet at a vast underground structure known as the Keep. There, they discover a giant imprisoned by magicians and gods. From David F. Walker, we have The Second Chance of Darius Logan, out from Scholastic Press in hardcover, ebook, and audio. This is a young adult superhero science fiction novel. Black teen Darius, on his own since his family was murdered in the attack 8 years ago, ends up in trouble. He is rescued by Captain Freedom and given a chance at a special rehabilitation program. From Timothy Zahn, we have The Icarus Changeling, out from Bannen in hardcover, ebook, and audio. This is a space opera science fiction novel, the 4th book in the Icarus saga. Gregory Rourke, agent for the ultra-secret Icarus Group, has received a new assignment: locate a teleportation portal on a backwater colony world. But what should be an easy assignment leads to a string of murders and a race against an alien enemy. From Jenna Satterthwaite, we have debut novel Made for You, out from Mira in trade paperback, ebook, and audio. This is a suspense novel about a synthetic woman designed to win a reality show dating competition, only to become the main suspect when her husband goes missing. Next up, horror, we have 3 titles. From Matt and Harrison Query, we have Wilderness Reform, out from Atria and hardcover, ebook, and audio. This is a horror novel. 13-year-old Ben, sent to a remote Montana wilderness camp for troubled teens, realizes something is wrong with the overly upbeat counselors and starts to investigate with the help of his cabin mates. The counselors are too happy? Being too happy is a problem. We all know this, and yet, don't we want to be happy? It's so confusing being human. From Michael Shea, we have Mama Dirt, out from Hippocampus Press and trade paperback. This is a cosmic eco-horror novel, the author's unpublished master's thesis. The 2012 novelette version is included as an appendix. Increasingly bizarre things are happening around the Quicksilver mine in California, where dead bodies are being dumped and strange sounds and smells come from the depths. Forward by Linda Shea. From J. Courtney Sullivan, we have The Cliffs, out from Knopf in hardcover, ebook, and audio. This is a horror novel with possible supernatural elements. Jane investigates the history of a neighbor's old Maine mansion, thinking renovations may have disturbed spirits. Finally, in anthologies and collections, we have 1 title. From Aaron Kreuter, we have Rubble Children, out from University of Alberta Press and trade paperback and ebook. This is a collection of 7.5 interlinked stories centered on a fictional Reform synagogue in a Toronto suburb about Jewish belonging, colonialism, Zionism and anti-Zionism, love, and cannabis culture. It's a mix of realist, satirical, and speculative, with one couple in time loop permutations of Israel and Palestine. That wraps up this week. Thanks for spending some time with us at Locus. We set out to tell you everything we can get our little hands on that's happening in the science fiction fantasy horror publishing space. If you enjoyed this video and you're still chilling with me, please go check out our older videos and help us get our watch hours up so that YouTube can see how cool we are. We are at Locus Mag or at Locus Magazine on most platforms. You can read more about the science fiction, fantasy, and horror field over at www.locusmag.com or help us out by donating to our Patreon. Even a little bit helps. We are a 501c3 nonprofit. Come back and see us again soon, and we'll be here next week with more new books.